Shalom. I am Nama Ru. This is my husband, Harav Rabbi David Ru. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about, my life gardening in Israel since I came here 2 years ago is very different. There are certain laws that apply. And can you tell us about what commandments apply to agriculture when we live in the land and the traditional borders of the Jewish people?
The earliest composition of Jewish law is called the Mishnah, which was put together about the year 200, comprising about 600 years worth of material. The first of the 6 orders of it is called Zeraim, seeds, that deals with agricultural issues primarily. There are 10 commandments that deal primarily with the laws associated with agriculture in the land. The first one is called Peah, that we leave a corner of a grain field for the poor. There are details of this that we will discuss at another time. There's a tractate called Demai, which is if you receive produce that is unclear whether the tithes have been separated from it, what you do with it. Kilaim, mixtures of seeds. Certain types of plants cannot be grown together or neither minimum distance between them. Shvit, the sabbatical year, once every 7 years, the land has to be allowed to go fallow, and whatever grows naturally or was planted before the sabbatical year began is ownerless and can be taken by anyone, and how we deal with that, and how it is possible to bring produce into the city and how people would be compensated and so on. Trumot deal with the 2 offerings that are given to the Kohanim, the priests, one directly by the people who receive the produce, and the second by the Levim, the people that help the Kohanim in the temple. They receive part of the produce also, and from their part they have to separate some of that to be given to the Kohen. Ma'aserot, tithes, which deals with different tithes that are given on the 10%, the first 10% of the produce. Ma'aser Sheni, which deals with second tithe, which in 4 of the 6 producing years of the 7-year sabbatical cycle are this produce would be taken up to Jerusalem or redeemed in the money spent in Jerusalem during the pilgrimage festivals for food. Challah, whenever one bakes bread, part of it has to be set aside for the priests. Orla, for the first 3 years that a tree is growing, or a branch has been grafted onto a tree, or it's been replanted someplace else, these first 3 years, no benefit may be made of the produce, and on the 4th year, the produce has to be taken up and eaten in Jerusalem. Bikurim, the first fruits of the 7 species for which the land of Israel is praised. There are first fruits, and the first fruits that ripen are taken up with the great celebration and offered in the temple in Jerusalem.
I just want to ask a few things that relate to my gardening. I have a real question. You mentioned when you plant a tree, like when you transplant a tree,
correct,
that you don't benefit from the produce for the first 3 years.
Correct.
Okay, so I searched and I found an elderberry tree in Israel last year at a local greenhouse, and I planted it here. And should I not be harvesting the medicinal, flowers and berries?
It's not a simple question. However, if you got the plant and its roots were in soil that it could continue living in and growing in without a problem, and all of that soil, you dug a hole large enough in the ground for all of that soil to fit, then it's not, you don't have to restart counting the years. However, many things.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Like vines, like grapevines and so on, are, when they become dormant in the winter, the rootstock is transferred into sand, which it could not survive in, and transplanted in that, and then you would have to restart counting the years.
But
So,
a Jewish person living outside of Israel, they don't have to practice these. Is that correct?
Yes, they do. The difference is, if I do not know whether something is orla from the first 3 years or not, in Israel it's prohibited. However, outside of Israel, if I do not know whether it is produce of orla or not of the first 3 years, it is permitted.
Okay. So I hope we can talk next time a little bit more about the actual difference in my gardening, because I could not garden here the way that I would garden in California. Not because of the climate. I for sure know how to grow stuff, but it would be prohibited for me to eat so much of the food if I didn't know the rituals and like the commandments that you're mentioning here that apply. In fact, it would be grounds for divorce if I did those things.
Only if you fed it to me.
Okay, so I guess that's long enough for this video. Thank you.